On the ground, there were no deep dents. It seemed as if someone had simply placed it there. For decades, the mysterious sphere remained one of the strangest unsolved mysteries in American history. This is a smooth, featureless metal sphere found by a family in Florida in 1974, rolling on its own, reacting to sounds and defying scientific explanations. The Navy tested it, the media was obsessed with it, and then it just disappeared. No one knew where he had gone. For almost 50 years, this mystery remained unsolved, until declassified Cold War documents surfaced in 2025, bringing back a voice from the past. Bob Lazar, a controversial physicist known for revealing secret propulsion programs at Base 51, made a remarkable statement. He claimed that these documents contained the truth about the mysterious sphere and warned that after revealing this information, he might not live to tell the rest. So what did Bob Lazar discover that was so dangerous it could cost him his life? Let's find out. It all began quietly in the spring of 1974, when a forest fire swept through the Betz family's property on Fort George Island near Jacksonville, Florida. When the smoke cleared, Antonina and Jerry Betz with their son Terry stepped onto the charred grass to assess the damage. It was then that Terry noticed something shining among the ashes. It was a perfectly round metallic sphere, smooth as glass, about 8 inches in diameter. It was incredibly heavy. The sphere had no seams, signs of welding, or indications of mechanical processing, only a few scratches and a triangle 3 millimeters in size, engraved or stamped on the surface. She didn't seem dangerous, so Terry took her home and placed her on the windowsill among his collectibles, unaware that she would become one of the strangest unsolved mysteries of modern science. The Betz family was not ordinary. Antonina was a marine engineer. Jerry was an artist. They lived in a large mansion, which they called a castle, and they had 6 children. They did not seek attention and were not eccentrics. This sphere was merely a subject of curiosity until strange events began a few weeks later. One day, while Terry and his friend were playing guitar in his room, they noticed a buzzing sound. They stopped playing to listen, and the buzzing faded. After a minute, they shrugged and continued playing. The buzzing returned. Terry walked around his room, strumming the guitar strings, and realized the sphere vibrated in time with the melody. He played louder, and the sphere vibrated stronger, then began to hum. At that moment, the family dog started whimpering, clearly disturbed by the sound. Terry decided to conduct an experiment. He carefully tapped the sphere with a hammer, and it responded with a ringing sound. Enchanted by the sphere's reaction to the sounds, he carried it to the living room to show his family. Everyone gathered around. Terry set the sphere down to grab the hammer and a guitar. However, even though no one was touching the sphere, it began to move on its own. It all started with an intriguing find in the forest, which turned out to have amazing properties. The sphere reacted to sound and touch, and also demonstrated the ability to move on its own. When she was rolled on the ground, she could move, stop, vibrate, change direction, and sometimes return to the one who rolled her. The sphere's behavior was unpredictable. Some rolls lasted only a few seconds. To conduct further tests, they placed the sphere on a glass coffee table and pushed it. Instead of falling, it rolled along the edge, moved to the center, and stopped. When they tilted the table for the sphere to fall, it surprised everyone by rolling down the slope as if trying to avoid falling. Jerry picked up the sphere and started shaking it. The sphere did not respond well to this. In one of the newspaper reports, Jerry described his feelings. If you shake the sphere vigorously and then place it on the ground, it resembles a giant Mexican jumping bean trying to escape. The Betz family discovered that the sphere has a magnetic field. A paperclip stuck to it but was easily removed. However, after some time of rolling, the magnetic field became stronger. After a few minutes of rolling, a lid from a mayonnaise jar stuck to the sphere, which could no longer be removed. They began to consider the possibility that the sphere might be solar. She seemed more active in the sun, gently vibrating and emitting a low hum, as if she had a motor inside. When she was brought back indoors, she remained warm for 3 days. When a journalist named Longanger from the Jacksonville Journal came to see the sphere, he arrived as a skeptic. Jerry invited him, placed the sphere on the floor, and suggested he give it a push. It rolled, stopped, turned on its own, and returned to his feet. He was astonished. For several days, their peaceful life came to an end. The story spread worldwide. Reporters surrounded the Betz house. Jerry reported that the phone wouldn't stop ringing. As people on the East Coast went to sleep, those on the West Coast were waking up. Although the Betz were reluctant to give interviews, they were ready to assist in identifying the sphere. Ultimately, a call came that the Betz family could not ignore. The military wanted to inspect the sphere. Despite Jerry's initial refusal, He eventually agreed to lend the Navy sphere for 2 weeks, on the condition that if it wasn't military property, it would be returned. The military conducted various tests, and what they discovered was quite alarming. The sphere was made of a stainless steel alloy capable of withstanding extreme temperatures and pressure. The spectrograph identified it as grade 431 stainless steel, and it had 4 magnetic poles with unusual patterns and varying strengths. However, attempts to conduct X-ray examinations were unsuccessful. The military planned to use more powerful equipment and conduct additional spectrographic tests, but could not obtain definitive results. The sphere had an outer shell about 1.5 centimeters thick, with several layers of steel of varying density. Inside, at the very center, about the size of an apple, was a hollow space containing 3 smaller spheres, each attached to thin wires. The main question was what these objects inside the sphere were. Usually, objects were placed by cutting the sphere in half and sealing it, or by drilling a hole, but none of these methods were visible here. Even the naval scientists couldn't solve this mystery. The Navy wanted to drill the sphere, but Jerry refused. 2 weeks later, the Navy confirmed that the sphere posed no danger and was not government property, returning it to the Betz family along with X-ray images of its internal structure, showing that something was inside. Meanwhile, scientists and the media speculated that the sphere might be of extraterrestrial origin due to its reaction to sound, magnetic fields, and strength. Some believed it could be an alien listening device. The Betz family turned to scientists for further explanations, but their conclusions only raised more terrifying questions. Dr. Carl Willis from the Omega-1 Institute became the first scientist to investigate the sphere. After 6 hours of testing, he remained completely silent, only saying, "This sphere will bring you danger." Then he left and was never seen again. A few days later, when the Betz family tried to contact him, they found nothing. There are no records of any institution Omega-1 in government or academic registries. It simply did not exist. Later, some suspected that it operated under someone else's identity. But why would anyone do that? Soon, the Betz family turned to Dr. James Hardin, a professor of engineering who became their trusted advisor. Dr. Hardin stated that the inner spheres are made of a heavy material with an atomic number of 140. Although scientists can artificially create elements with a high number of protons, the highest achieved so far is 118. Therefore, the element in question does not occur on Earth and has a radiation level 100 times higher than that of the Chernobyl nuclear power plant. This led Dr. Hardin to suspect that the sphere might be a damaged alien probe or an anti-gravity device. Against this backdrop of intense scrutiny, the Betz family became increasingly anxious. A group of scientists arrived in Jacksonville, visited the Betz house, and offered Jerry $750,000 in cash for the sphere. Adjusted for inflation, this amount would be nearly $4 million today and about $6 million next year. Jerry declined the offer. After their departure, the family began an investigation and discovered that the scientists' biographies had been forged. They suspected that a foreign state might be trying to seize power and realized they were in danger. In 1974, the National Enquirer offered a prize of $50,000 for proof of extraterrestrial life. The Betty's family brought a sphere to a meeting in New Orleans, where both Hayek and Hardin were present. When the idea of drilling the sphere was raised, Dr. Hardin warned that if the sphere contained a material with an atomic number of 140, drilling could lead to a critical situation. In this context, the word critical means that the sphere can undergo a reaction similar to that occurring in a nuclear reactor, where elements with atomic numbers above 92 are typically created. Considering that the protons in the sphere significantly exceed known values, drilling into it could trigger an explosive reaction. Then something strange happened. Terry received a call that his mother had been in an accident. He rushed home, only to find that she was fine. Upon returning, he found that the sphere was gone. The Enquirer dismissed all accusations of possessing it. Later, they stated that the Navy had taken it for further testing in New Orleans. When Terry arrived at the establishment, the sphere was beyond defense, guarded. He was not allowed to approach it. After several days of negotiations, she was returned to him. But after that, something was wrong. She did not hum, did not vibrate. Upon re-X-raying, she turned out to be completely empty, like an ordinary metal sphere. The magnetic poles had disappeared. The inner spheres had turned to dust. In the end, they realized that a swap had occurred. Dr. Hardin was furious. He accused Hynek of complicity, claiming that the swap happened while the sphere was in his suitcase. Years later, after Dr. Hynek's death, his son Paul mentioned that there was a silver sphere in the family. All they knew was that their father said he was involved in a UFO case in Florida. Whether this was the same sphere, no one knows. But the Betz Sphere, the original, was never found again. In the year 2025, the mystery was finally solved by physicist Bob Lazar. Decades after the sphere's disappearance, newly declassified archives of Cold War project reports were compared with the best cases. The breakthrough occurred due to one overlooked detail. During the last recorded test before the disappearance of the sphere, a rhythmic pulse was noted, one beat every 47 seconds. Such a 47-second pulse was found in declassified Cold War documents describing experimental sound resonance spheres. These were compact metal spheres designed by the Navy and Air Force to convert acoustic vibrations into rotational energy for self-navigation. The project was ultimately abandoned after numerous failures. The devices became dangerously unstable under solar radiation. Sounds familiar? The basic sphere vibrated under the guitar chords. It activated in sunlight. It remained warm long after being moved indoors. Each behavior corresponded to the characteristics of those classified prototypes. The files also show that several original test models were lost during transportation in the 60s. Most were made of high-quality stainless steel. Some even had small triangular marks for identification. If the Betz Sphere turned out to be one of those lost devices, the truth would be much darker than any alien artifact. It would mean that the U.S. Air Force accidentally released a prototype of a self-propelled reconnaissance machine capable of absorbing sound and movement as energy. And if the real sphere was secretly replaced during the tests, it was not done to hide the mystery. It happened because someone understood exactly what it was and ensured it disappeared again.